I was rinsing out a plastic coffee cup when my phone lit up with my father's name. We had not spoken in months, and for a few seconds I just stared at the screen, wondering what could justify a call this early. I answered with a quiet, "Hey, Dad." There was no greeting on the other end. "Rowan, I need to tell you something." The tone alone stiffened my spine. "Okay, what's going on?" "I know you finished the mortgage." The cup slipped in my hand. 6.5 years of payments every transfer I hid under the label utilities. Every night I went without eating out or buying anything unnecessary, spoken like it was simply information he had come across. "You know?" "Yes," he said, impatient already. "Your mother and I talked, and since the house is stable now, we've decided to give it to Tyler for his graduation." The room seemed to tilt. "You're giving the house to Tyler." "It makes sense," he replied. "He is the man of the family. He needs a foundation." My throat locked. I have been the one keeping that house standing. He exhaled, annoyed. "This is why I did not want to call. You always make things about money." I pressed a hand to the counter, steadying myself. "I am not making it about money. I am making it about the truth." The silence on his end was cold. "There is going to be a small party next weekend, and I do not want you coming. I do not need your attitude ruining your brother's day." My pulse thudded in my ears. "You are uninviting me from my own family's celebration." "It's better this way," he said. "Tyler does not need tension around him." My voice lowered because it was the only way to keep it from breaking. "Dad, I paid $450,000 to save your home, and we appreciate it," he said, though nothing in his tone suggested appreciation. "But sometimes daughters forget their place. A house should stay with a son who can carry it forward." Every word stung sharper than the last. He was not just dismissing my sacrifice, he was rewriting it entirely. "I am hanging up now," he said. "Think about what I said." The line went dead. I stood alone in my kitchen, gripping the counter until my fingers ached. The hurt sat heavy, but beneath it, something steadier pushed up a boundary I had never allowed myself before. If you have ever been the one who held everything together while someone else took the credit, stay with me. There is more to this story, and I want you to hear everything that happened next. Because this call was not the end. It was the break that finally made room for the truth. I drove to work the morning after the call, but my mind kept drifting backward years, not hours into the parts of my childhood I usually kept locked away. The voice I heard in my head was not the grown version of my father. It was the one from when I was 12. "Rowan, let Tyler go first," he would say whenever a decision needed making. Or, "You are a girl. You will manage on your own." I used to nod, pretending those words did not sting, pretending they did not carve out a smaller space for me each time. I remember one afternoon when I was 16. Tyler stormed into the kitchen, waving a permission slip for some expensive sports camp. My mother, Marion, looked at me apologetically before turning to him. "We will make it work, sweetheart," she said. I whispered, "Mom." I wanted to sign up for the pre-college program, the one in Chicago. My father, Charles, did not look up from the table. "Rowan, those programs are for kids with time and money. You are a smart girl. You will find your own path. Tyler needs opportunities." I could still hear the scrape of his chair pushing back as he stood, patting my brother on the shoulder as if they were two halves of the same destiny. Back then, Tyler barely acknowledged it. He would shrug and say, "Sorry, Ro," without meaning it. Years later, when I lost the full scholarship to the University of Michigan because my father insisted I stay close to home, he said the same thing. "Sorry, Ro. Dad thinks it is better this way. Better for him, not for me." The memories came faster the more I tried to push them away. There was the Christmas when Tyler unwrapped a new laptop, and I received a cardigan 3 sizes too big. My mother had whispered, "You always make do," as if making do was praise. as if making do was my role. And then there were the nights I overheard my parents talking after they thought I was asleep. "She is strong," my father said once. "She will not fall apart if we cannot give her everything." My mother replied softly, "But she is still a child. She will adapt." That was the blueprint of my life. I adapted. They leaned. Tyler thrived. Driving through the morning traffic now, I realized something I had ignored for years. My father's call was not a shock. It was just the loudest version of a pattern that had followed me from childhood into adulthood. My phone buzzed with a new message from my mother. "Give your brother time. Rowan." This is a happy moment for him. I stared at it, the same familiar ache returning. Not anger, not jealousy, just the quiet certainty that I had never been seen the way he was. That invisibility was not an accident. It was the role I had been assigned. I was 25 when I first understood how close my parents were to losing everything. I had stopped by the house after work, hoping to drop off groceries and leave before the usual tension crept in. But the moment I stepped inside, something felt off. My mother's smile was tight, rehearsed, and my father barely glanced up from the living room. I went to the kitchen to put the groceries away, opened the drawer where they kept receipts, and froze. Dozens of envelopes sat stacked in a crooked pile. Each one carried the bank's logo. None of them had been opened. I held one up. "Mom, what is this?" She rushed over, snatching it from my hand. "It is nothing. Rowan, just bills. Bills do not pile up like this," I said, taking another envelope before she could stop me. My father appeared in the doorway. "Put those back." I stepped away from him. "How many payments are you behind?" His jaw tightened. "This is not your concern." "It becomes my concern when the bank takes the house," I said, louder than I intended. My mother placed a trembling hand on my arm. We were waiting for things to turn around. Winter was slow. The shop had repairs. We fell behind. I spread the envelopes on the table. "These are more than late. This is foreclosure territory." My father bristled. "We do not need a lecture from you." I pointed to the amounts printed across the statements. "You are nearly 6 months behind, Dad." He looked away, which was answer enough. That night, I sat alone in my old bedroom, doing math on a notepad. I could hear them arguing in the hallway, my mother pleading, my father insisting they would figure it out. But I had heard that line too many times. Figuring it out always meant someone else paid the price. My phone buzzed then. Uncle Bennett's name flashed on the screen. He had stopped by earlier and seen the same stack of envelopes. "You know they cannot keep this house without help," he said. His voice was gentle, but steady. "If you choose to step in, we need to do it the right way." "What does the right way mean?" I asked. "A trust," he explained. "Something that protects you. If you are going to carry the responsibility, your name should be tied to the property." I stared at the numbers I had written. Monthly payments, interest, my own income, all the pieces I knew I could bend if I had to. My voice came out quiet. "I will do it." He paused. "Are you sure?" "Yes." I folded the paper in half. "If I do not, they will lose the house." Later that week, while my parents signed the trust documents Bennett prepared, my father muttered, "This is temporary." I would have fixed it, but when he handed me the pen, he did not look me in the eye. And that was the day I became the one holding up the home they believed would always belong to someone else. The night of Tyler's graduation party, I parked half a block away and sat in the car for a long moment, steadying my breath. I had not been invited, but my mother had texted earlier, "You can come if you stay calm," as if my existence alone might disrupt the celebration. I walked in through the side gate. The backyard was already crowded, folding chairs, paper streamers, family members clustered around tables. My mother hurried toward me first. "Rowan, keep your voice down," she whispered, even though I had not spoken. Your father wants tonight to be smooth. Smooth for who I asked. For everyone, she insisted, already turning away. I found an empty spot near the fence, just close enough to hear the conversations. She is lucky, a cousin told my aunt. Tyler gets a whole house at 22. He deserves it, my aunt replied. Charles and Marion worked so hard to keep that place. My jaw tightened. I glanced across the yard and saw my father holding court near the grill, gesturing proudly as relatives nodded along. Tyler appeared beside him, wearing a too bright smile. Dad, are you doing the speech soon? Almost, my father said, squeezing his shoulder. Let people settle. I barely recognized the scene. They stood in the glow of fairy lights, bathed in applause meant for sacrifices that had never belonged to them. A few minutes later, my father clinked a glass. Everyone, gather up. The crowd shifted into a semicircle. I stayed where I was, half hidden, but still able to hear every word. I want to thank you all for coming, he began. It has not been an easy few years. Winters were rough, and the shop nearly sank more than once. But we pushed through. We held on to our home the way any strong family does. My hands curled into fists. And now, he continued, we get to pass that home to Tyler. He will carry it forward. He is the future of this family. Cheers rose from the crowd. Tyler basked in them. Then he stepped up with his phone. Hold on, let me show everyone something a video played on the portable speaker clips of him in the yard. Him repainting one porch board, him shaking his father's hand. The caption flashed, "The legacy continues." Someone behind me said, "He's so responsible." I took one step forward, unable to stop myself. Before I reached them, another voice cut through the applause. "Charles," Uncle Bennett said sharply. He stood near the front, arms crossed. "You left something out." My father's face tightened. "Bennett, not now." Bennett ignored him and gestured toward me. "The house is under a trust. Everyone here should know that." Whispers spread like sparks. My mother paled. Tyler lowered his phone. I felt every pair of eyes slide toward me, not out of pity, but recognition. The lie had cracked, and something inside me shifted with it. I did not speak. I did not need to. 2 days after the party, I drove to the house before work. I needed to see it with my own eyes, not the version my father paraded around, not the story Tyler had filmed, but the place I had held together for more than 6 years. I walked up the porch steps and slid my key into the lock. It stopped halfway. I tried again. Slower this time. Same result. The key no longer fit. My breath tightened. I knocked once, then again, harder. After a few seconds, the door opened just wide enough for Tyler to appear. He held a cardboard box under one arm. Behind him, the hallway looked different, cleaner, emptier, as if they had already begun rearranging the house to erase me. "Row," he said, blinking in surprise. Hey, what happened to the lock?" My voice came out flatter than I expected. He shifted the box. "Dad changed it. Said we needed to get ahead on things." "Get ahead?" I repeated. "By shutting me out." His expression flickered into discomfort. "It is not personal. It is entirely personal," I said. "I am the one who paid for this house. Tyler." He winced, but did not step aside. "Dad thinks it will just cause more issues if you keep coming around. He wants a clean start." "A clean start for you," I said. He hesitated, eyes dropping to the box. "Look, Ro, you are strong. You always land on your feet. Dad says you do not need this place the way I do." A laugh scraped out of my throat, sharp and hollow. "So that is the new line, I do not need it." He swallowed. "I am just doing what Dad asked." "Of course you are," I said softly. "You always have." For the first time since childhood, he had no comeback. He just stood there, silent, because there was nothing left to defend when the truth was that simple. I stepped back from the porch, the useless key heavy in my hand. He watched me, but did not call after me. He just closed the door slowly, like sealing something final. I walked to my car without looking back. I did not need to. I could feel the boundary forming with every step I took away from that locked door. I dropped my bag on the kitchen floor and emptied every drawer I had avoided opening for years. Statements, printed emails, wire confirmations, hundreds of pages documenting 6.5 years of sacrifice. I spread them across the table until the surface disappeared beneath them. When I called Uncle Bennett, he arrived within 20 minutes. He stepped inside, took in the piles of paper, and let out a slow breath. "You kept everything," he said. "I had to," I replied. No one else was ever going to remember what I did. He picked up a statement showing one of the earliest payments, almost $3,000. "Rowan, this is a record of your life. It is a record of theirs," I said. "Every month I paid. They pretended the debt was temporary, and now they are pretending it was never mine." Before he could respond, my phone buzzed, a number I did not recognize. I answered anyway. "Rowan Hale," a woman asked. Her voice was clipped, professional. "This is she." "My name is Sloan Mercer. Bennett sent me your file. I would like to meet—" I glanced at Bennett. He nodded once. "We are available," I said. "Come to my office in an hour," Sloan instructed. "Bring everything." She hung up before I could ask anything else. Bennett helped me gather the documents into organized stacks. As we worked, he said quietly, "You know your father is counting on you doing nothing." "I know." "He thinks you will swallow this the way you swallowed everything else." I paused, hands on a folder. "Not this time." At Sloane's office, she greeted us with a firm handshake and sharp eyes that seemed to read every truth I was too tired to say aloud. "Sit," she said, gesturing to the chairs. "Tell me what they did." I told her everything. The call, the party, the speech, the new lock. Each piece landed like a verdict. She flipped through the trust documents and raised a brow. "Your father signed this voluntarily." "Yes, and he is pretending it does not exist." "Correct." She tapped the page. "You are not emotional. Rowan, you are the legal controlling interest on this property. They cannot give away a house tied to your name." I exhaled slowly, feeling something shift inside me. "What do we do?" I asked. "We file," she said. "We freeze every attempt to transfer ownership. We notify the county. We prepare a formal dispute." Bennett leaned forward, and then Sloan met my eyes. "Then Rowan decides how far she wants to go." For the first time in days, my voice felt steady. "All the way." When we left the office, the weight I carried was still heavy, but now it had edges I could finally hold. The annual Hale family cookout was held at a park near Lake Erie, long picnic tables, cousins running between grills, and the same routine chatter that had filled every summer of my childhood. I walked in with a folder tucked under my arm, the trust papers inside a thin manila sleeve. No one noticed me at first, which somehow felt familiar. My mother spotted me eventually. "Rowan," she hissed gently, "please do not bring tension today. This is supposed to be a celebration." I kept my voice steady. "I did not bring the tension. Mom." She looked away, smoothing her blouse as if she could smooth the entire situation along with it. Across the picnic area, my father stood with a group of uncles, laughing too loudly. Tyler was beside him, soaking up the attention. I heard one cousin clap him on the back. "You lucky guy," he said. "Your parents are setting you up for life." Tyler shrugged modestly. "They worked hard to keep the house. I am just grateful." The lie settled into the air like smoke. I took a seat at the edge of a picnic table, away from the crowd but close enough to hear everything. My aunt leaned over to another relative and whispered, "Charles saved that place during the recession. The man never stops. The folder grew heavier in my hands. My father raised a plastic cup. "To Tyler," he announced. A good man stepping into real responsibility. I opened the folder and slid the trust document onto the table in front of me. My cousin Jenna, seated nearby, glanced down. Her eyes caught on my name, Rowan Hale, printed beside legal phrases she clearly recognized. "Wait," she murmured. "Rowan, this has your name all over it." Her voice carried farther than she intended. A few heads turned, then more and more. My father paused mid-toast. "What is going on?" Jenna spoke again, louder this time. "Uncle Charles, why is Rowan's name on the trust for the house? It says she is a controlling party." My father's expression soured. "That is legal fine print. It does not mean anything." Bennett, sitting on the opposite side of the table, cleared his throat. "It means everything, Charles. You know exactly what those documents say." Tyler looked from me to the paper, confusion tightening his features. "Dad, is this real?" My mother reached for the document, hand trembling. "Let us not do this here." But it was too late. The air had shifted, conversations faltered, eyes lingered. The narrative my father had been polishing for months began to crack under the weight of one single sheet of paper. I did not speak. I simply gathered the document, slid it back into the folder, and stood. For the first time, they watched me walk away, not as the invisible daughter, but as the person whose truth could no longer be hidden. By the time Tyler posted the house tour on social media, him strolling across the porch, pointing at the living room windows, claiming the house as his first big step into adulthood, I had already stopped reacting. The video gathered likes and congratulations from relatives who never asked where the money came from or who held the structure together. I kept the sound muted and set my phone aside. Sloane's filings were already in motion. The county would be alerted. The trust would be enforced. My silence was not surrender. It was preparation. 3 days later, on the morning Tyler planned his big gathering for friends, I received a text from Nora Whitfield, my parents' neighbor. "Officials at the door. Not sure what is happening. Thought you should know." I was already in my car before the message fully loaded. When I pulled onto the street, 2 city officials stood on the porch, clipboards in hand. My father opened the door, casual and unsuspecting, until he saw the badges. "What is this?" he demanded. One official spoke calmly. "We are here in response to a property trust dispute. Under county procedure, the home is now under temporary review." My father's jaw tightened. "There is no dispute. This is my son's house." The official glanced at his paperwork. "According to the documents, the controlling interest belongs to Rowan Hale. Until the matter is resolved, no transfer or occupancy claim can proceed." My mother appeared behind him, pale. "There must be a mistake." "There is no mistake," the official said. These filings were submitted with full verification. I watched from the sidewalk as the scene unfolded, my father's certainty cracking for the first time. A loud grinding noise cut through the air. A tow truck pulled into the driveway. Tyler burst out the door. "No, no, no, what are you doing? That is my car." The driver barely looked up. "Leaseholder is 3 months behind. We have orders." Tyler spun toward my parents. "Why did no one tell me, Dad? Do something." My father stepped forward, then stopped, helpless. I cannot fix this." The tow truck lifted the car slowly, painfully, as neighbors watched. Tyler's voice broke. "This is not fair." I stepped closer then. "This is what responsibility looks like when someone is not covering the consequences for you." He turned toward me, stunned. For once, he had no words. My parents stared at me as if I were someone they had never fully seen. The officials handed my father a notice and stepped away. The weight of the moment settled, not triumphant, not cruel, just true. and the truth was finally loud enough for all of them to hear. When I arrived at the house later that afternoon with Sloane and Uncle Bennett, the street was quieter than I expected. My parents were still on the porch, the official notice clutched in my father's hand like it might change if he held it tightly enough. Sloane stepped forward first. "Charles, Marion, thank you for waiting. We will make this brief." My father's eyes narrowed. "You had no right to drag the city into this." "Rowan," Sloane answered before I could. "Your daughter has every legal right. The trust binds this property to her financial contributions and requires her consent for any transfer. Your attempt to give the house to Tyler violated those terms." My mother's voice trembled. "We did not think it mattered. We thought it was symbolic." Bennett shook his head. "It mattered from the moment Rowan took on the debt you could not manage." Tyler stepped outside then, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes darting between us. "So, what happens now?" Sloane pulled out a packet of documents. "Effective immediately, no one may claim occupancy, ownership, or inheritance rights, except Rowan Hale. You have 14 days to vacate while ownership and access are formally restored to her." My father's shoulders stiffened. "You expect us to pack up our lives because she wants to make a point." "This is not a point," I said. "This is the truth catching up." He stared at me, disbelief mixing with something harsher. "You are our daughter, and daughters are not supposed to disappear so their brothers can shine." I replied. My mother reached for my arm. "Rowan, please, there must be another way." I pulled back gently. "There was." "You chose not to take it." Tyler swallowed. "So the house is really yours." I met his eyes. It always was. Silence spread across the porch, heavy, undeniable. Sloane closed her folder. "We will return in 2 weeks. Have everything ready." As she and Bennett walked toward the car, I remained where I was, letting the final truth settle. They had rewritten the story for years. Now it was mine again, fully, legally, finally. 2 weeks later, the house was silent. My parents had moved into a small rental across town, and Tyler was sharing an apartment with 2 friends who expected him to pay his own share. For the first time in years, the front porch was empty, waiting for no one. I unlocked the door my lock, installed legally, without argument. The hinges creaked softly as I stepped inside. The walls looked the same, but the air felt different. It no longer pressed down on me. It did not belong to anyone else. I set my bag on the counter and started sorting through the rooms, choosing what to keep and what to replace. When I reached the living room, I found my mother's last message still on my phone. "Please do not shut us out. Rowan, we were trying to do what we thought was right." I typed back slowly. "I am not shutting you out. I am stepping into my own life." I did not wait for a response. Uncle Bennett stopped by shortly after. He leaned against the doorway and smiled. "Feels different when the space finally matches the truth, doesn't it?" "It does," I said. "It really does." He placed the old house key on the table. "Found this in the box your father returned. Thought you should have it." I turned the key over in my hand. It meant nothing now, just metal, stripped of power. Still, I placed it gently into a drawer. I was done letting it define me. That evening, I sat on the porch as the sun dipped low behind the trees. The quiet felt steady, earned. I thought of everyone who had been listening to my story, the ones who knew what it meant to be invisible in their own family. "If you have ever carried more than anyone realized," I said softly into the fading light, "stay with me. There is strength in telling the truth out loud." Then I stood, walked back inside my home, my real home, and closed the door behind me.